Broadcasting live to the UK. News, information, entertainment, and the best music from the past 40 years. This is Play 2 UK. Tommy Boyd. Call 01243 55 60 60. Email studio@playradiouk.com. Skype play.radio.uk. Now, live from the south coast of England, the Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
Tonight I want to talk about a couple of things. First off, Iraq, which is a huge subject, but not as huge as fridge management, which is another thing that I want to talk about because I'm struggling a little bit this evening due to a poor piece of fridge management, which came about fundamentally because I have two boys and they tend to put the cartons back in the fridge when there's about half an inch left because it saves them the arduous job of putting the empty carton in the recycle wheelie bin, which is only about 4 feet from the back door, but they won't do it. They'd rather just put the 2 inches back. See? So I'm suffering a little bit because yesterday afternoon, after I'd had a sort of little of a workout kind of thing, and I was gasping for a drink. Normally I have a glass of water, but I just thought I'll see if there's any juice. And there was a nice carton of apple juice, paper, so I couldn't see inside it. So I'm glugging away at it, and I thought, chewy. I like the bits. I like the bits. And I thought, tangy. Yeah, but apples are quite sharp. You know, even at this time of the year. And then I thought, it's too tangy. It's too chewy. So I looked in, as you do with one eye, and it was blue. They were blue, they looked like flowers floating on the top of this apple juice. And I'd taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good glugs. Not really tasted it, just down, you know, like when you're thirsty, just oh. So I'm struggling a little bit this evening with slight tummy cramps, but we don't need to go there. We just need to talk a bit about fridge management. It's a huge thing in this day and age, as is Iraq. And of the two of them, since fridge management affects us more than what's going on in Iraq, we'll probably concentrate primarily on that.
I'm a commentator par excellence.
Hack presents
I am the best.
The Closet Recordings of Alan Jones.
I'm the Muhammad Ali of 2UE.
Alan Jones on 2UE. The movie Batman broke all box office records on this day in 1989. It had only been on the Australian screens for 6 days. It beat records previously held by Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Fuck, how did it rate? Bloody shit. Indiana fucking Jones. The reason we lost the fucking second test against the All Blacks, because that movie frightened the shit out of my team the night before we played. They led 12-0 and fell apart at the seams. Fucking Hawker, who was terrified by the snakes, had the worst test I've ever had, because he'd been awake all night, devoured by Indiana Jones's temple snakes. Bastards.
Written and spoken by Alan Jones for the amusement of the Triple A audience.
Now, Iraq. Let's get on to Iraq quickly. Good evening, listening. If you're live, if you're at your PC or your laptop, good evening to you. If you're around the world, good day. If you're podcasting, hi. The thing about Iraq, which is starting to come home now, and it's really embarrassing, all the self-righteous people who decided that this was an easy one, that always get support down the pub or in the common room or around the kitchen table if they say that Bush and Blair were wrong to go to war in Iraq because there were no weapons of mass destruction, and because, it was morally wrong. You don't go invading another country. Well, it turns out that the Iraqis now are delighted with the newfound freedoms and the newfound entrepreneurial opportunities that are being given to them by the freedom of the new democratically elected government that they have in Iraq. Iraq's economy is the most buoyant in the world. It's up 40%. Whereas everybody else's is down on average about 40%. You can buy holiday homes in Iraq, and they're a good investment because people are only just beginning to go to Iraq for their holiday. Okay, so if you buy a holiday home in Iraq in 5 years' time, it will probably have doubled, trebled in value. So a lot of people are getting into that. So what I want to say is what I said all along about the Iraq thing, and I'd be really interested in the counter view on this one to see whether people are still trying to sustain the argument that we should never have done it, that we should have sat on our hands and watched a dictator abusing his tyranny and abusing the human rights of enormous sections of the population that lived under him in Iraq, that we were wrong to go in and sort that one out, because at the time I'm sure I said, that we were right to act like some kind of a police force, and if the world's going to have a police force, I'd be far happier if it was Britain and the United States than if it was Korea or whoever might try and take the job on. At the time of going to press, there was only one superpower, and that was the United States, and they were right to go in and sort that one out. And there was an argument that they did it because they wanted access to the various huge oil reserves that exist under Iraq. And I accept that. And I accept also that George W. Bush wanted to get one over on his dad. The new Oliver Stone film is going to suggest that George W. Bush actually wanted to show his dad that he was tougher than his dad was. Because George Bush, when he defeated Saddam Hussein, after Iraq had invaded Kuwait, he and the American forces threw Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait, but stopped at the Iraqi border and left Saddam's power intact, hoping, it said, that the Iraqis themselves would overthrow Saddam Hussein, which never happened. But George W. Bush, who is seen in the film, that's due out shortly, called W, is seen having a fight on the lawn in the front garden of their family home with his dad over who's the toughest. And things like that do sometimes influence world leaders, although I don't believe that George W. Bush ever was able to act as president alone, because there was such a powerful lobby working behind the scenes, the Rumsfelds, and indeed his dad, a very influential American politician. But on the whole, it begins to look as though Tony Blair was right and George Bush was right and the French were wrong, which rather sweetens the pill, doesn't it? Because none of us, for whatever reason, want to go too far out of our way to compliment the French, really. I was going to say to avoid giving them a pop. So there's that. What do you think, Fiona, about Iraq, if it ever crosses your mind?
Yeah, it does. No, I think we were right to go. I agree with you that there is. It's easy for this, large group of people to say, "Oh no, we were wrong. No, we should never go in. Wicked people," But no, I think we were right.
A lot of people died.
Yes, but a lot of people probably would have died if we hadn't. I mean, supposing we hadn't have gone in, and supposing there were weapons of mass destruction, those same people would have been saying, "You should have gone in. We should have gone in."
So I'm quite prepared to field that argument tonight and face off the self-righteous who still believe that any war is a bad war. I don't think that's the case. And who feel that in particular it's an easy one for them to jump up and down on Blair's political grave and George W. Bush's impending political parade. I'm quite happy to field that argument. You can call if you fancy. It's 01243 55 60 60. You can email studio@playradiouk.com. That's studio@playradiouk.com. Good evening. If you're a new listener, you can also Skype us, which is a good way of getting in contact. If you download Skype onto your PC laptop, if you've already got it, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, you just Google Skype, click on the download. It takes about 90 seconds, and you've got a means whereby you can make free phone calls, effectively, to us at Play Radio. It comes out almost studio quality, 90% of the time, has to be said. It's still a work in progress, but it's very good when it works. And our Skype address is play.radio.uk. So that's play.radio.uk. And fridge management, Fiona. How are you on the fridge? No, let me refine that into a challenging question. What is in your fridge?
What, right now?
Right now! Do you know? Come on.
Yeah, I think I do.
Come on, then.
Okay. Quite a lot of milk.
How much?
About 3 big sort of 4-pinters.
Yeah.
But of course we've also got semi-skimmed. We've also got skimmed as well. We have 2 sort of levels of milk in my house.
And how are they used? Children get semi-skimmed, worried about their cholesterol.
Children get semi-skimmed, okay, because they need lots of good fat in their diet.
Okay.
And I drink the skimmed because I don't want any fat in my diet.
Okay, so it's semi-skimmed and skimmed.
Yes.
Okay, when was the last time you had a pint of full cream milk in your fridge?
When the children were...
Quite young.
Very young,
Yeah,
yes.
and we didn't get all these fears about milk being bad for you.
No.
Okay, so you've got some semi-skimmed and some skimmed milk.
Mm-hmm.
What else have you got?
I've probably got...
What have you got in your fridge that should be thrown out?
Oh, probably that half-empty tube of mayonnaise that's been in there about 8 months.
Tube of mayonnaise.
Tube, you know, like a squeezy tubey thing.
It's like the new sauce bottles.
Yes.
It's white, it's got a blue cap, it stands on its end.
Yes.
And it's been in there for quite long enough, really.
Yeah, probably since the beginning of the summer.
Oh,
when we were first moving on to salads.
You going to chance it?
Know. No, I probably won't, but I just can't bring myself to throw it out.
What about the cheese box? Where do you keep your cheese in the fridge?
It's just in the fridge, I'm afraid.
Anywhere.
It doesn't have a
a
box.
home.
No.
The milk has a home, doesn't it? How about
Yes,
the margarine?
it does.
Could you get your margarine out of your fridge blindfolded?
Yes.
We're slaves to our fridge, you know.
Yeah.
I think we go to our fridge 8-10 times a day over the weekend if we're in the house, don't we? And browse, look at it, and go,
It tends to be the veg in my fridge that will just really go past its sell-by date and not get eaten and be thrown out.
Do you keep potatoes in the fridge?
No, I don't.
No, never kept potatoes. Aren't they green at the moment, a lot of potatoes?
Yeah, they are.
I heard that if you were pregnant and you ate green potatoes, then your child would be deformed.
Really?
Some of the rumours that go flying around, are really very upsetting. It's bollocks, of course.
I remember hearing that if you, which may or may not be true, that if you eat potatoes that are not quite cooked properly, you can get worms.
Yeah, that, again, is bollocks.
What else have I got? Probably half a jar of pickled onions left over from
Christmas.
Christmas.
Yeah.
What else? That packet of ham that's I should really throw out because they say you have to eat it within 3 days and it's probably been in there 5.
Yeah. But the tyranny of the fridge, and how often do you clean it? How often do you take a cloth to the surfaces?
Not as often as I should.
No?
I try to clean it when my next lot of shopping's just about to come.
Okay.
But I don't always.
All right. We'll take a piece of audio which has been suggested to us by somebody who's emailed in. What have we got, Matt?
What have we got? Well, I'll tell you in a minute once this computer's sorted out.
Oh, right. Are we still experiencing Apollo 13 moment?
We're now in the final furlong.
Well, crack on, because what I'll do is explain to the gentle listener, good evening or good day to you. Our first guest is up in about 5 minutes' time, and she's a fine woman, Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, a Canadian psychologist based in England. Stay with me, because there's much more to it than that. She's the author of various books, such as The Man Manual, which tries to explain the workings of men's minds. She's also the author of Mirror Mirror, Dr. Linda's Body Image Revolution, which is a book on body image, and I think this is a crucial thing, body image, because people go on about their weight, but they're not really that bothered about what they weigh. They're just bothered about their shape, aren't they? You know? I think.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm seriously thinking about getting a corset. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. From yesterday's show, Twiggy was talking about how a good wide belt, if it's used judiciously, and you haven't been abusing the contents of your fridge, and therefore suffering from some kind of blossoming within the gut, that a good wide belt will do the job. But you can get corsets, can't you, just to tuck you in. Women, Fiona, I think I'm right in saying, now all women have at home at least one pair of those knickers which also nip your tummy.
Bridget Jones pants.
Yeah, I don't, actually.
No.
Although I've thought about it. No, I'm not lying. I don't have a pair, but I have tried them on before.
Yeah. Are they? You've tried them on?
I've tried them on.
Are they comfortable to wear? They're hugging your lower abdomen in, aren't they?
Do you know what I didn't like about them?
No?
Because they just seem to push everything everywhere else.
Yeah.
So... If you're wearing...
It's not a Hadron Collider, you know. It doesn't affect... No, it doesn't affect the mass.
Picture this, okay? You've got this tight black figure-hugging dress on, right? And you're thinking, okay, it's all a bit saggy round the middle. Let's get a pair of these big knickers on that's going to hold everything in neat. What happens is, it all moves up the top, so you have it all hanging over the top of your pants.
Yeah.
Or shifts down the bottom and hangs out down the bottom of your pants. So you've still got the saggy bits.
Some kind of a muffin effect again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just...
Okay.
No.
But as far as body image goes, I think nobody would mind being 13.5 stone if they look reasonably proportioned.
Yes.
You know, in the case of women, if you like, whatever it is, 42, 28, 42 was 42, 28, 42, you wouldn't fight that. That's what Jane Mansfield was, I believe, roughly. Okay, and if you're lucky enough to be Twiggy, that's fine again, but shape is very important, because she was saying how she's never had any real shape to her body. She's just been straight down.
Yeah.
Up and down, straight up and down. Beautiful face, but figure-wise, straight up and straight down. Hence the nickname, obviously. And she wasn't happy with that.
Well, she was 6 stone, I think, when she was height of her sort of modelling career.
But she would have liked, you know, the right body image. And I got the smell from reading out what she was saying yesterday, Twiggy, that she'd have been happier with a slightly more curvaceous, well-defined body image. So that's something else that Linda Papadopoulos will be on to talk about in 5 minutes' time. She's one of the most well-respected psychologists internationally and is a familiar face on numerous British and American reality television series such as Big Brother, Double Cross, My Big Breasts and Me, and Celebrity Fit Club. I don't watch all of those programmes regularly. I don't set the DVD for them. Have you seen any of those?
Well, I remember Dr. Linda from Big Brother. I think that was sort of when she first became sort of a popular face on British television.
Okay. It goes on to say that she's written a new book entitled What Men Say, What Women Hear, to try and explain why when a man says he'll call you, it means he won't. That's pretty basic, I think. That one. She says this is because they hate confrontation. Or why when men say they'll take the bin out, they can't remember 2 minutes later that they've said it. And she says this is because men are not wired to multitask, which I'm going to disagree with her about, because if we say we're going to take the wheelie bin out, that doesn't mean we're going to do it straight away unless that's actually been in the negotiation. Will you take the wheelie bin out now, darling? Now, this minute,
Yeah.
will you get up from the sofa and take the wheelie bin out? If that's been negotiated by the woman, then fine, saying yes and then just sitting there and watching the second half. Okay, clearly that's reneging on a deal. But I think women often ask vague questions. Are you happy?
Do you?
Yes. Are you happy? Women will often ask you, you know, at a quiet moment, having a coffee out, say, are you happy? Yes? What does that mean? What does that huge question mean? What do they want in reply? They want a whole kind of sonnet, don't they? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date.
Oh my God.
All they're going to get is, it works, poetry. It works. All they get is, yeah, I'm all right. Have we managed to sort out this piece of audio that we've been promised?
Audio,
beautiful.
yeah.
Who sent it in?
Well, these were sent in yesterday. Unfortunately, we couldn't play them because, as we all know, it wasn't working yesterday. If I can get onto the email, I can tell you who sent it.
Well, let's hear it first, and then we'll name-check whoever has contributed this. It works like this. One of the things that we're doing is, instead of sort of DJing music on the talk shows, to a certain extent, we're DJing interesting, funny, preferably funny, but not necessarily funny, audio clips. So instead of going, OK, the time is, and I am, and this is, and here's Lionel Richie, we're going, OK, I am, the time is, this is, and here's a funny clip.
Yes,
so
and this is around the Pirates' Day that we spoke about the other week.
OK.
The year is 1631, and the Spanish Main is being terrorized by that most barbaric of pirates, Captain Blackskull, a man who rules his ship through tyranny and terror.
Now listen here, you scurvy sons of dogs. Round the next bay be a galleon full of Spanish doubloons, bound for Hispaniola. Only it ain't gonna get there, see, 'cause we're gonna board it and slit the gizzards of the crew till the bilges are awash with their blood, and then we helps ourselves to the gold. What do you say, me hearties? Shall we go cut some throats? Ha ha!
No, Captain.
What do you mean, no?
I means no, Captain. We don't like the way you're a-running this here ship, and we reckons we ain't gonna stand for it no more. Reckons we've had enough, ain't we, boys?
That's right, we've had enough. Oh, I gets it, you stinking swabs. You wants a bigger share of the loot, does ya?
No, Captain.
Then I suppose you wants my treasure map, which shows where I buried the treasure from that Portuguese man-o'-war.
No, Captain.
Then what do you want?
We wants a training day.
training day?
Once a month. We want a training day, preferably in a nice hotel near Hastings. Where all us sea dogs can sit us down and pool our experience, compare work methods, and prioritise objectives, damn your eyes.
Prioritise objectives?
And improve our communication skills!
That's right. There's not a man on this ship what knows how to use any tense apart from the present.
That's because you're pirates! And ever since pirates begins, pirates only speaks in the present tense, does pirates? First man on this ship as uses the past or pluperfect tense dies where he stands.
He was there!
Or a conditional. And the next one what mentions training days is keel-hauled, dragged beneath the ship till the barnacles rip open his belly, and death comes as a merciful blessing.
Well, that's no way to motivate people, is it?
Don't you start, first mate.
Threatening to rip open the bellies of your staff? Call that man management?
Well, he's no real managerial grounding, see? He was a plain midshipman originally. He should go on a course or something, you know.
Quiet, you insolent lubbers!
Well, give us our training days. How else are we supposed to meet the challenges of the 1640s?
I want an occupational health officer.
Aye, and a creche.
Silence! Any more of your mutinous whining and I'll rip out your eyes and feed them to the sharks. I'm the captain here, and this ship be mine, do you hear? Mine! Mine!
On Captain Kidd's ship, they get to do role-playing.
Shut up!
All get to do each other's job for a day. Got a new captain now. Boatswain Harris liked being captain so much, he had the old captain thrown overboard.
Well, here's some role-playing. I'll play the captain, and you play a man who's about to be stabbed.
It's Spanish galleon!
Now listen here, you filthy dogs. That there galleon is full of gold, and we be pirates. And pirates don't need training days. All pirates needs is a black heart and a sharp cutlass. What do you say, lubbers? Will you follow your captain as we storm that there galleon?
We'll be there with you, Captain.
Because pirates is bold and brave and lives for the moment, see? So in a moment we sails alongside that there galleon, swings across on our boarding ropes, cuts the throats of any Spanish soldier what stands in our way, and then loads ourselves up with silver and gold. And then we piles up all the treasure on the main deck, and then we counts it doubloon by doubloon, jewel by jewel. And then, once we know how much booty we've gained through our deeds of black-hearted, blood-soaked evil, we'll gather it all up and invest it in a nice little pension scheme. What do you say, me hearties?
A nice little pension scheme!
Very nice. We've got to thank Steve Robert for that one. Thank you, Steve. If you happen to be listening at the moment, maybe you could just buzz us the information where you got that from. It sounded like some sort of BBC audio comedy programme, and it was a cut above the stuff that they usually do. If that's what it was, he emailed yesterday. One of our bits of equipment was down, so we just held it over till this evening. Here's a funny audio clip. He says 4 minutes or so. I think you'll like it. It also continues your pirate talk from last week. Oh, he PS's, love the show, but mostly listen to podcasts, so a week behind. Studio, our email, studio@playradiouk.com. Our Skype address, play.radio.uk. And our switchboard, if you fancy saying hi, is 01243 55 60 60. We'll talk to Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, Canadian psychologist based in England, author of numerous books such as The Man Manual, Mirror Mirror, Dr. Linda's Body Image Revolution, and her new book, which is What Men Say, What Women Hear, in just a couple of moments.
Play 2 UK headlines.
National tests for 14-year-olds in England are being scrapped. A US-style school report card system's being introduced instead to give parents a snapshot of how their child's doing. America's buying a stake in its banks after copying Gordon Brown's idea. The $250 billion move is similar to action taken in the UK to help stem the global financial crisis. Inflation now stands at more than double the government's 2% target. The latest figures come in at 5.2%. And the mother of Rhys Jones has told a court how she cradled her son in her arms as he died. The schoolboy was shot on his way home in Liverpool last year.
Play 2 UK. Weather.
Cloudy and misty but mild across much of England and Wales with occasional outbreaks of rain. Elsewhere largely dry with clear spells and some fog patches. Rain over northwest Scotland later. Tomorrow there'll be occasional light rain across southern England and Wales. Some fine spells elsewhere with scattered showers following.
You're up to date on Play 2 UK. Love film? Then you'll love PlayRadioUK.com with low prices on Blu-ray DVDs. There's also 40% off and save on DVDs under $5. Just click on the lovefilm.com banner at PlayRadioUK.com.
Are everyday items stretching your family income to the limits at the moment? Me too. Well, I found this amazing website, comparison-plus.co.uk. It's amazing. You can compare the prices of thousands of products from all the big retailers. And what's more, it's a totally free service. You don't have to become a member to use Comparison Plus. But if you do register with comparison-plus.co.uk, you get cashback rewards, giving you even bigger savings. Don't pay over the odds. Click comparison-plus.co.uk and start saving now.
My dad knows how to keep my mum sweet. He logged on to Play Radio UK and treated her to some amazing Swarovski jewellery from the Scala Jewellery. My mum's so lucky because the Scala Jewellery designed all their jewellery in the UK and then it's handmade in Italy with Swarovski stones. They design jewellery for celebrities and royalty too. It's probably the best costume jewellery in the world. So come on all you dads, go to playradiouk.com and click on the Scala Jewellery today.
The Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
As discussed, this evening we're talking about Iraq and taking a new perspective there. We're talking about fridge management. How you can make sure that your fridge is delivering what you need, which is healthy food. But we're also saying good evening and welcome to Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, who's on the line. Hello, Linda.
Hello.
We've asked you if you can pop up and give us some bullet point advice for young men listening, particularly, but not exclusively, about ways in which communications between young men and young women, or older men and older women, sometimes break down, because this is the subject of your latest book, isn't it?
That's right. I think what a lot of research shows with regards to communication is that a lot of us bring our beliefs and our ideas about the world and ourselves and relationships, into new relationships. And depending on whether we're male or female, so much of how we see the world is tainted by gender in a way, the same way, as it's tainted by culture and religious belief and everything else. And acknowledging that we see the world in a different way is a great start, and kind of not jumping to conclusion when our partner says something that we find either difficult to understand or offensive.
Yeah, I've got a couple of examples which I think come from the book. When a man says he'll call you, it means he won't, and this is because they hate confrontation. Forgive me, but is that kind of the gist of one part of your book?
I think that's sort of slightly simplistic. I think the point is men and women emotionalize issues in different ways. Men are genuinely much less comfortable with emotion. There's evolutionary reasons for this. There's socialization reasons for that. So for a lot of reasons, they're less open to confronting a woman with emotional issues.
Okay.
Firstly, women are much more comfortable with doing that. So the point of the example that you simplified, that you said, isn't that every man that says I'm not going to call you is doing so for that reason, but the point is he's much less likely to be comfortable with confrontation, much less likely to be uncomfortable with emotion, and therefore less likely to verbalize his reasons.
Okay. So what? Well, you mentioned that there are evolutionary reasons why men and women socialise slightly differently and perhaps have a different relationship with their emotions. Are we sticking with the idea that men used to go off and hunt and bring home the booty, and women used to stay in the cave and look after their children, and that has had some kind of an impact on the way in which they socialise? Or are you going back even further and saying that the amoeba, male amoebas and female amoebas...
Amoebas don't have a... No. I think the point is that it shapes physiology, it shapes biology, and if you look at male-female brains, one of the main differences is that women's brains are able to multitask more, for example. Also, the areas that are involved in emotional and language development are stronger in women. This has come from the fact that women have had to use that part of the brain more so than men. Likewise with spatial ability, with men it's more adept and more developed. As a consequence, have an effect on relationships. As a consequence, it will have an effect.
Hey, listen, I'm really fascinated by what you're saying, so I'm going to get someone to call you back and see if we can get a slightly better line. Could you just bear with us for 30 seconds and we'll get you back on the show?
Okay.
Beautiful. Okay, we'll do exactly that. So talking with Dr. Linda Papadopoulos about some of the differences that exist between men and women in terms of how they socialise, and I'll just take a quick email from Peter, who emails, "Hi Matthew, hi Fiona, Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong, you was in favour, drop it." What?
You just dropped the call.
Oh, yeah, okay. Where was I? I do everything around here. Everybody else just waves. Everybody else comes in and spends, a couple of hours waving. That, no. It's a radio studio, just looks like any other radio studio. But the guy who does half the talking or more is also the guy who's involved in all the technology. So what happens is Matt and Fiona and Michael's in this evening. Hello.
Good evening.
You haven't waved yet at me.
I'm sorry.
No, not like goodbye or going off to war. You kind of point at something and go, that one. No, not that one. Yeah. Okay, now you're in now.
Okay.
You're part of the team. Yeah, and I never know what they're pointing at. Anyway, email. Hi, Matthew, Fiona, Tommy. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is Peter emailing. You was in favour of the Iraq war to depose the brutal leader Saddam Hussein. If I am wrong on that score, this email will destruct in 30 seconds. OK, if I'm right, a man who you admire, namely George Galloway, views people who were in favour of the Iraq war as no better than war criminals. Now, my question to you, Tommy, if you had a Galloway on your show tonight to debate the Iraq war, how would you convince George Galloway it was the right thing to do to invade Iraq and no doubt face the wrath of his venomous tongue? What a fantastic debate that would be between you and George Galloway. Maybe it would be the mother of all phone-in battles. P.S. Tommy, I do expect the usual insults you throw at me when I send you an email, but hey, I'm used to that now, Peter from Birmingham. Well, you stay getting used to it, young man. But what I would say, Peter, is that I would not expect to change George Galloway's views. The idea that George Galloway's views can be changed or improved, I think he's a fine man, and I think he's a man who can probably improve the scope of his knowledge, as we all can, and the information that is available to him. But it's very hard for men to say that they've changed their mind, but it's something that I'm prepared to do from time to time, because how can you not change your mind when you come across new information? And I did have my reservations about the Iraq war at the time, but it appears now that Iraq is such a stable, happy country that Tony Blair and George Bush W have got an awful lot for us to pat them on the back for. Talking with Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, the Canadian psychologist based in England. Oh, I'm filling now. What am I filling fucking for? What are you doing? You having a chat with her? You trying to pick her up? Get on with it. What? Well, communicate with me. What's going on? You're on the phone. You've been trying to phone a woman. What is it? 8 numbers. Dit, dot, Matt. What? It's engaged. What? You cannot. It defeats you. It really does. Unbelievable. Where were we? Just who else we're talking to tonight? We're going to be talking about wind farms. First when I saw them, I thought to myself, like everybody did, they're a bit hideous, and you wouldn't want one sitting up overlooking your bedroom window, would you?
No.
Wind turbines. But I'm starting to see them as being really quite sleek now.
Yeah.
Apparently they can make a bit of a noise, a sort of a... when the wind is blowing them round, and they're creating clean energy. But I think I could live with that, as long as, again, it wasn't too noisy.
Can I ask a really stupid question?
I like them.
Is it quite literally the wind that turns them around?
Yes. Yes, what, windmills? Well, yes, it is.
Yes, the wind turbines. It's literally...
Yeah, it's a Ronseal deal, that one. It does what it says on the tin.
Really?
The sails on windmills are turned around by the wind.
Right.
What did you think else might be?
I don't know, but I mentioned on last night's show that when we go over to France, we drive over the highway, or whatever they call it over there, and there's quite a lot of wind turbines along, on the side, and they look beautiful. But the last time I was over there, I noticed that some of them weren't moving.
Right.
And I thought, well, that's strange, they must be broken. And then I realised that they were facing a different direction. And it was only then, I think, that the penny dropped, that it was probably because the wind wasn't picking up.
Well, either they weren't turning around because it wasn't windy enough,
Yes.
or quite possibly they hadn't turned round to face the wind, or, as you say, they were undergoing cleaning.
Right.
You don't know, do you?
No.
But it shows that you're paying attention.
Yes.
We bought a house that was powered entirely by wind. It was one of the first in the country. It was down on the south coast where you get a lot of wind. And we thought, hey, you know, we are the future. This is what everybody are going to be doing fairly soon. We had 2 windmills.
How long ago was this?
This was about 12 years ago.
Okay.
We had 2 windmills. The blades on each of them were about 6-8 feet long. And they did make a noise, especially when it was very windy. But
Right.
here was the thing. One night, it blew a bit of a gale, and the windmills fell down. And wouldn't you have thought that all the things that windmills were designed to do, of all the things that windmills were designed to do, being able to stand up in the wind
Yes.
would be on the list.
You'd think so.
Yes. Okay. We decided to Skype Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, and we're just sorting that out, and Matt is doing a sterling job, as usual. But we'll snip it out of the podcast. I had an offence warning from somebody who is listening on the Shrine, which is one of our associated websites, which says, hi Tommy, as Bernard Manning was mentioned. Did we mention Bernard Manning yet this evening? But into the bargain, have I got Linda there? Are you there, Linda?
I think so, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that sounds... now you're on Skype, which is a good way of doing it, yeah. Well done. You and Matt sorted that one out together. OK, where did we get to? I think we were... I was just asking you a little bit about how much the social differences between men and women and their emotional range, the differences there, are kind of like down to the way their brains are wired and how much of it is learned.
That's correct, yeah, and we were discussing about how structural differences do play a role, but it's an interaction effect on a lot of things. I mean, society, the way one believes they ought to behave in society, physiology, your own family culture, the culture that you're brought up in, and physiology, the way that we're made differently, all these things play a role. But I guess the main point is that ultimately we want the same thing. I just think that men and women sometimes have a different way of getting there.
Okay. I can think in my own private life of plenty of conversations between myself and women, both sort of like domestically and at work, where they're just... I'll give you an example. When a man at work says to a fellow male colleague in the morning, "Morning, how are you?" all he means is that's an extended way of saying hello. Okay? And the reply he expects back from a male colleague is, "All right, you all right?" And that's it. But I've often suspected that, and I've seen this myself, that if a woman says to another woman in the morning, "How are you?" and there's a particular intonation about it, it really means a half-hour download of her emotional profile. Because when women say, "How are you?" they often actually mean, "How are you?"
Yeah.
Now, is this the kind of thing that you're pointing us towards in what men say, what women hear?
It is. I mean, there's lots of reasons why women do that. I mean, if you think about friendships, for example, women tend to kind of disclose intimate information a lot more. Guys are much more likely to disclose sort of physical information. But in terms of really intimate information about what their insecurities are, what their fears are, they're much less likely to do that. Having said that, we know from research on everything from depression to committing suicide that men tend to have much more depression and to commit suicide a lot more than women. And one of the theories is because they don't have the ability to say to each other at times, "How are you?" and really, or they're not socialized into it, or society frowns upon men that show emotion still to some extent, or GP surgeries aren't set up for men as much as they are for women. All of these things, there are differences in how we treat men and women, and this does have an effect on the way they cope with emotion, on the way they cope with difficulty, and even the form that their friendships take.
Okay. So what would make the world a better place then? If men were more in touch with all their various emotions and able to express them not only to members of the opposite sex but also to each other?
I think if men were just okay with, and women were just okay with understanding that they, you know, that they speak a different language at times and kind of making space for that. You know, when a guy says, are you going to eat that extra piece of cake? A woman with, you know, body image issues, which women tend to have a lot more, might hear, you've gained weight, you don't eat that piece of cake.
Yes.
Where he might just mean genuinely, I'd like that piece if you're not going to have it.
Yes.
So her reaction is, well, fine, you have it. He has no idea why she's being rude. He's, you know, then he reacts, and it kind of all goes pear-shaped. I think just acknowledging that sometimes, you know, we come at life in a different way, and what you hear is not what's, you know, what the person's intending to say is a great first step.
That is a great example, if I may say so. We've all absolutely got where you're coming from with that one example alone. Great, but what I'm wondering is whether you're half suggesting that everybody should just kind of keep self-improving a little bit in every which way. Of course we should, because we only get one bite at the apple as far as we know. But if there is any way to go with what you're highlighting, this fact that men and women do speak a slightly different language, is there anything that I should be thinking about tomorrow morning over breakfast with Mrs. Boyd, or, you know, any of us, with the next time we're talking to a woman and we want the conversation just to move along easily and, you know, end up being a happy memory for everybody?
You know, I think for guys, I'd say one thing that women often don't want is for you to solve problems. When she's upset and she wants to cry, believe it or not, you know, sometimes women just want to feel something, to show emotion. I think guys are very sort of, again, research shows are much more solution-focused. They're like, right, what's wrong? Well, let's fix it. And sometimes she just wants to stay with that. So sometimes just sort of learning how to listen a bit better is a great
shouldn't the women know that? Because sometimes women come home and they tell their other halves that somebody kind of beat on them at work, you know, and they had a bad day. And the man finds himself getting angry and wanting to go down and pound the other guy. But you're saying that he should know that all he needs to do is go, oh, that must have been awful for you, and somehow not allow himself to be affected by it. But shouldn't she also know the effect that she's having when she does this kind of emotional downloading on a man who's not equipped to deal with it?
Absolutely, she should. So when he's sitting there going, I don't know what to say, honey, would you like me to go down and, like, have a word? You know, that she understands that it's his way of coping. It's like when men and women have arguments. Again, intimacy. Women oftentimes show intimacy through connecting emotionally, through talking. A lot of time guys show intimacy through physical means, by having sex. So you have two people that have had an argument, and they go to bed, and he initiates sex to become intimate again. She takes that as, well, that's all he wants, whereas, you know, what she wanted is to, you know, connect emotionally. So again, just understanding that, you know, different acts, physical acts, verbal acts, mean different things at times is hugely important.
Yeah, I mean, do you meet many men who are good at this?
Yeah, there's some. I think, you know, like men and women, it varies. I think, you know, the best relationships I've seen are the ones where there's, you know, enough sort of, I guess, not only self-awareness, but awareness of the other person to just kind of say, this is what I heard, is that what you meant? So when you said, are we going to your mother's again this weekend? You know, I heard that you don't like my parents. Which gives him a chance to say, oh my God, that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is I haven't spent time with you in ages and I've missed being with you. Rather than saying, right, you know, how dare you speak like that about my parents? Well, I think your mother's horrible as well. And again, it goes down completely the wrong route. So just doing something as simple as kind of saying, you know what, this is what I'm hearing. Is that what you mean?
Okay.
Let's just start.
Yeah, see, I've got teenage sons, and they often kind of ask me about girls. And what do I know? But I tell them this. When I went to America, I assumed that because Americans speak the same language as I do, most of them, well, 50% of them, that they were somehow like us English. And it took me a while of working with Americans to recognise that, in fact, Americans speak English, but underneath it all, their carefully organised mentalities and penetrating intellects and work ethic, they're Germans. They are Germans. And so what I sometimes say to my boys is, you'll find that girls are very similar to you in lots of ways. They've got 2 arms and 2 legs and a brain, and they want to be happy and they want to be successful and things. But what you're saying, and I agree with you, Linda, is as far as men are concerned, women are Germans. Or, as far as women are concerned, men are Germans.
Never thought of it like that, but thank you for that.
Using the same language, but meaning different things by it.
I mean, on a serious note, I do. I genuinely believe that gender, is a culture in a way. You know, you have your cultural norms, you have the cultural speak. You know, I do agree. I mean, not so sure about sort of the German versus American thing or whatever, but I do think, I do take your points.
Well, surely then McCain and Palin are the dream ticket.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
I just said I'm Canadian. I had nothing to do with, either Bush thing or
fair enough.
Palin thing. We just got to clear that up.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I'm just saying, could be the best of both worlds. Yeah. Thank you for your time. And the technology. Well done, Linda Papadopoulos. Lovely talking to you. When's your book out?
It was out about a week and a half ago.
Beautiful. Who's the publisher?
It's Random House.
Okay, and it's called What Men Say, What Women Hear?
It is, yes.
Beautiful. Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, thanks for your wisdom and your humour.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Nice lady. Nice lady.
Talks a lot of sense, doesn't she?
Yeah. I think so. It's one of those things that, in life, you kind of instinctively sort of know some things, but you're not sure. And it's quite nice to see it sometimes written down in black and white or told at you by a psychologist. You think, okay, now I can think that. Because, Matt, they are different from us, aren't they?
Oh, the one thing I hate is is everything okay? Yes, everything's fine. But it's so blatantly not.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I hate.
Yeah.
And it's exactly... I'm just glad.
So when my wife says
to me... That's a bit of support for men, that is.
When my other half says to me, did you have a good day? If I say, yes, I've had a great day... How about you? And she says, no, I've had a really uphill day. Then I feel guilty. Okay? Because I've had a good day and she's had an uphill day.
Yeah.
But she often says to me that she loves it when I say that I've had a good day. Because she wants me to be happy.
Yeah.
Okay? But then I feel as though I shouldn't say I've had a good day.
Yeah.
Because then somehow my life is all roses. And she's the one who's knee-deep in you-know-what.
It goes back to
so sometimes I say, if I've had a good day, if I've had a blistering day, I'll go, yeah, not bad. Okay, because I don't, because I don't understand fully what she wants me to say for the very best. She tells me that I've had a great day. That's what she wants to hear.
Yeah.
But I take the edge off it slightly sometimes, because if I was a bloke, I would thump somebody in the gob, metaphorically, if they were constantly having good days.
Yeah.
Because who has good days all the time? We had a boy at school called Titch Bidmead, and in the end somebody thumped him because he just smiled all the time. It was so annoying. B. Jones, it was of Rutherford House, gave Titch Bidmead one. A quick slap for smiling all the time and being happy. Maybe that's slightly different.
I can totally relate to what Dr. Linda was saying about men being sort of Mr. Fix-It. Men have to fix things. If there's a problem, men have got to fix it. Whereas sometimes, and I do have this with my husband, that if I come home and go, he'll say, oh, well,
this is what you should do.
Yeah, and that just infuriates me more because, I know what the answer is, but I just want someone to go, oh poor you.
Well, why don't you just say, I just want a hug and a bit of sympathy. I don't want you to sort my life problems out. Because as men, what we try and do is sort of born into us instinct is provide and care for, sort of from a male perspective, which is, well, if I can't sort it out, I'll hit him. Basically. So if you don't want someone to sort it out, don't stand there and go blah, 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 and look at them.
Yeah.
You just go, crap day, this happened, just need a hug. It'd be a lot easier.
Right.
That was a podcast moment there, Matt. Well done.
The soundtrack to your festive season. Play Christmas UK.
Ho, ho, ho. Hello, boys and girls. Santa here. Pipe down, Rudolph. Ho, ho, ho. As you can tell, Christmas in the Claus household is well and truly underway. As with any family, it's a busy time for us too, and sometimes things can get a little heated, with Mrs. Claus always wanting to listen to Play Rock, when all I want to listen to is my favourite festive songs on Play Christmas. Nothing but the season's music from the Play Radio Network. Now, where did I put that eggnog? Ho, ho, ho.
Play Christmas UK.
Part of the PlayRadioUK.com network.
The National Internet Radio Awards 2008 have landed. and Play Radio needs your help. Play 2 UK has been nominated for a top award, and we want you to help us show the world why we're leading the way in the future of radio broadcasting. Only your vote will help us win this award, and voting could not be easier. All you have to do is click on the Vote For Us banner on the Play Radio homepage. Votes are limited to one a week, so don't be shy. Vote for us every time you check back into our website, Play 2 UK and the Internet Radio Awards 2008. Vote now and be part of our future.
Play Radio UK have teamed up with Virgin Wines to offer you a massive 20% discount off your favourite wines. Visit playradiouk.com and click on the Virgin Wines 20% discount voucher to start saving now and have your favourite wines delivered to your door. Play Radio UK and Virgin Wines, for people who love their wine and a great deal. Just log on to playradiouk.com and click on the Virgin Wine 20% discount voucher and start saving today.
Play 2 UK, The Tommy Boyd Show.
Some nice email clips that have been sent in by people listening. Paul Barrett, thank you for that. Jason is listening at work, and he emails, as Bernard Manning was mentioned, got me thinking about something that disturbed me. Manning did a live commentary on his own funeral using pre-recorded green screening before he died. They put a warning before the show that some of his material could offend. I was a fan. It never offended. However, there was no warning that they were going to show Bernard Manning's dead body. They split-screened the alive Bernard with his real dead body in the coffin. That, to me, is a horrific image that has stayed with me. The warning should have been about seeing his dead body, not the 30-year-old racist jokes, which we've all heard 1,000 times before. I've never seen a dead body before. Very disturbing thoughts. We'll come back to seeing dead bodies. We've got a nice piece of audio which Matt's prepared for us. What have we got here, Matt?
I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, this is some sort of prank phone call to a late-night religious show in America.
My show, man, my shout out, and my wife and my children, I love y'all. Praise the Lord, because he's worthy. Praise God. Let's go to Beatrice in Montreal. Beatrice, you there?
Listen vigilantly.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Beatrice.
Listen vigilantly. I have raised a child for 1 month in my womb before aborting him. I am calling tonight of a stern demi-noir.
You're calling
what?
what?
My request of you is an oral composed on abortion. What are your views currently?
Say again?
What are your views on abortion currently?
My views on abortion and everything else is that if it's not right with God, it's not to be done.
How can you beseech such?
Say again?
How can you beseech such? God is not the only answer of presumable
God
ways.
is the only answer, my dear. You can argue that point all night long and you'll lose with me. God is the only answer. He says he's the way, truth, and the life, and no one comes unto the Father except through him.
Is this a woman doing a man doing a woman's voice? Here,
sounds
Beatrice.
like it, yeah.
Yeah. Would you have spotted if you'd been the host that this is a wind-up?
Yeah.
I think I might have.
First
bit. Yeah, but then religious
the
people.
The line's not very good, though, is it? He was struggling to hear what she was saying.
I think that was part of the plan.
That helps.
Yeah.
And also, she was talking gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Wasn't, you know.
Well, you know what God said? I'm sorry?
You are presumably demi-noir.
You presumably are demi-noir.
Say again?
I am an atheist.
Well, you know what? There's no such thing as an atheist. You could take an atheist to the end of a building and say, I'm going to throw you off. The first thing they say out their mouth is, oh, my
I will
God.
not tolerate slang and or tomfoolery.
I don't care what you tolerate. I'm talking about the risen Savior here.
In regulation you shall beseech my next point. I do not tolerate men. I am a lesbian. I am an anti-sperm pro-ovum candidate. What are your views on gays?
Well, you know what? You asking me questions trying to dog me, and my views is that Jesus is Lord. You're trying to ask me all these questions and loop me into things. I'm a little bit wiser than that. My views are the Bible.
To mine.
My views are the Bible. That's my views.
And how does the Bible beseech such?
The Bible beseeches such that sin is sin in God's eyes, and you better get rid of it.
Get rid of what?
Of any sin in your life.
My attire, my existence?
No. get rid of the sin by bowing down before a living God.
I will not
and
bow. I am on earth is stern. I will be bowed to, if not.
Earth is stern. I think it's better when the person is doing the gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Don't you like that? I'm an earth is stern, and Nengus plu. As long as you mix it up quite right, then... but the thing is, has the guy not spotted that this is a fake call, or is his switchboard low, or what? What have we got here?
No, is that right? Well, you know what? You're going to bow one day. The Bible says every tongue shall confess, every knee shall bow. And you will be down there. Trust me.
Whom?
Whom? You.
To whom will I bow?
The Lord God Almighty, the one who hung on the cross and died for you. Say again?
It's non-existent. There is no God or Jesus.
Yeah, there is. Well, how did you get here? If there's no, who created the trees? Who created the water? If you think that there's no God, there's a God. Amen.
Amen to what? Amen to whom?
To whom?
That's good. Who was that sent that in?
I just have to look at yesterday's email.
Don't worry about it. But thank you for that. Very much indeed. Dead bodies, then. Jason has emailed at work listening to the show. The first dead body he ever saw was Bernard Manning.
Nice.
No, it's not, is it? I mean, you know, Bernard... I worked with Bernard Manning. I wrote for Bernard Manning. I wrote material for Bernard Manning.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you write?
Well, it was a show called Under Manning. I'm just going to try and get some Bernard Manning up on the internet, up on YouTube.
That's where you want newsroom at the bottom. You've just...
Oh, we don't want newsroom, do I? Why is that, then?
Do you want me to sort of...
No, I'm just clicking on newsroom. Yeah, go on, you get YouTube Bernard Manning, and we'll see if we can get a couple of his golden moments out. What it was I used to write bits of comedy with Jeremy Beadle, and Beadle had been given this new format for a show, which was called Under Manning, and they'd bought the rights to a show that Groucho Marx used to do in the United States on American TV. And the show was basically a vehicle for Groucho to be funny, so contestants would come on, he'd ask them questions, and then he would make jokes about their answers.
Right.
But what he needed, and what Manning needed, was some suggested jokes up his sleeve for whatever they replied.
Okay.
So Jeremy Beadle was given the gig, but he pulled it out and he tossed it to me. And the gig was, if the question was, can you name the Russian dictator who ruled Russia between Lenin and Khrushchev? The answer is Joe Stalin, okay? And then Bernard Manning needed 3 jokes about Joe Stalin.
Right.
Okay? 3 jokes about Joe Stalin?
Yes, yeah,
yeah, no, we're a bit early for you tonight. We're just going to do Bernard Manning. Can you come back later? Good lad. So I worked with Bernard, wrote some stuff for him. He used it, but it wasn't very good, because Bernard is much funnier telling jokes about, well, what he's famous for. Have we got some?
There are a few selections up there for you to choose from, yes.
Okay. It's especially for Jason. This will give him nightmares.
There's a blind fellow walked in Lewis's with...
Oh, you have to let it buffer up for
This guide dog...
Yeah, we know.
There's a blind fellow walked in Lewis's with his guide dog, and the guide, you know, it's... picked it up.
It's a long buffer, isn't it? All I'll do is I'll just pause it there and let it buffer through. That's quite good.
So have you ever seen a dead body?
There's a blind fellow walked in Lewis's with his guide dog.
This is Bernard Manning, not me.
Picked it up by the tail, he's swinging about like that. The manager walked up, he says, "Can he help?" He says, "No, just have a look round."
Yeah, very poor. Have I seen a dead body? Yes. It was my first ever gig in show business. The dead body. I was hired at Butlins, and I was a red coat. And you put that red coat on, they hire you, you turn up Saturday morning, and you go to the entertainments manager and you say, "I'm here, you're all right now?" And he says, "OK, go down and get your uniform." He said, "And go over and work with Dave. Dave's doing the welcoming over at the swimming pool and the reception area, where the buses come in full of punters." We were at Butlins. So I put my red coat on. Red coat. White shirt, crisp white shirt, yellow tie, napkin or handkerchief in the top pocket, very... White shoes, you had to bring your white shoes. They had to be white. No dirt on them at all. Crisp white trousers, the whole thing. Neatly hair done, everything, fingernails good. And I'm marching across the campus, which is huge, miles, and everybody's going, "Hello!" to the red coat. I'm thinking, I'm in show business, yeah. Hello! Hello, I was only 18. Yeah. Hi! Doing little dances. And I got to the reception area, and I reported to Dave, and I thought he'd say something like, go and welcome the people getting in off the coach, or go and do something amusing with the lines of people waiting to check in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or go and do some pratfalls over the suitcases that are littering the reception area. But he didn't. He said, nip down to the Gaiety Theatre and get the screens, ask Arthur for them, and bring them back here and put them round the corpse. And somebody had died.
Oh, God.
In the swimming pool.
Oh, no.
And been pulled out. And they were blue.
Were they all inflated?
No, he'd only been down there for about 10 minutes, but he was dead. He was a young lad.
Where was the lifeguard?
Well, what had happened, apparently, was that the boy, who had learning difficulties, had been given a snorkel to take on holiday with him.
Mm-hmm.
And his parents, whilst his parents were putting all their clothes out in the wardrobe, the boy, enthused with the fact that he was now going to be able to do what he'd seen Jacques Cousteau do, the underwater explorer, with his scuba gear, put his swimming trunks on and took his snorkel and his mask to the swimming pool and dived in and swam to the bottom and started looking around for starfish and things, like he'd seen on Jacques Cousteau.
Mm.
And then began to breathe in through the snorkel, because nobody had told him that with a snorkel you have to stay about 6 inches from the surface.
Oh, yeah.
I know, that's what they think happened.
Mm.
So my first job in show business, and how prescient, really.
Is Butlins really show business?
God, yeah.
Really?
Jesus,
Even
yeah.
these days, hasn't
Not
it
that
lost
I
its
don't know
pull?
these days.
I never... Redcoat, to me, never seemed show business.
Well...
Sort of, it was just a holiday rep.
No, absolutely not, no. You had to go... I used to do the cash bingo at Butlins, OK? There'd be 8 games of bingo every night. And there'd be 2,000 people in the auditorium. In between every game of cash bingo, the winning ticket had to be checked, and then the money paid out, all right, and then people buy their new tickets and go and sit down and wait. Now, they can't have silence during that, so you have to entertain them. Now, you try it, you think about it. 8 3-minute slots, 6 nights a week. OK? What can you do? You haven't got a trumpet, you can't tap dance.
It's just an hour and 4 minutes of doing something.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Exactly.
I don't know, I'm not really a stand-up comedian, nor am I a dancer.
That's what I had to learn. That's what I had to learn, how to be a stand-up comedian, and I loved every minute of it.
Mm.
I told jokes
It's
that
not, doesn't strike me as show business, though.
What, stand-up comedy?
And no, entertaining 2,000 people who aren't paying much attention, they're getting their bingo tickets.
No, they're all sat there waiting. There's one person up there having their card stamped. Most of them have bought their tickets. You've got 2,000 people sitting there waiting for the next game of bingo. And one person who's the winner is up at the cash desk collecting 500 or 600 quid, so it's a big thing. And the tickets have to be checked very carefully. So it's about 3 minutes in between each game of bingo, and you've got to fill it.
Tough job.
Well, exactly. And, you know, it was sort of the equivalent of the Glasgow Empire, and I died a few times doing it. People going, oh, shut the fuck up. Shut up! Coughing and that. And then the guys came to me and they said, look, you know, you can obviously tell a joke, and you don't lack confidence. They said, but you're telling jokes like, I was in the doctor's surgery the other day, and an orange came in, and I said, what's the matter with you? He said, I'm not peeling very well. I'm not peeling very well. Not saying my dad's thick. Used to pour Guinness on the lawn because he thought it would come up half a cup. My wife is so fat. When I married her, carried her over the threshold, I had to make 2 trips. She got to the cinema the other day in a white dress, showed the film on her back. See, it's all coming back. It's rubbish. It's rubbish, but it's what they wanted, and it's what you had to do. And you learnt what worked and what didn't work.
Mm.
You had to, because when you're telling people jokes, if you want to sing a song, people applaud at the end of it, no matter how crap you are. Moon River, winding... Oh, he's very good, very good. Yeah, it's bollocks, really. Magicians, you know, bollocks. Dancing girls, novelty acts, we had a midget on the organ. You know, they're going to get a round of applause. But when you tell a joke and the audience laugh, you know you're good.
Mm.
And so that's what you're looking for. So you learn loads of tricks. Not tricks, showbiz techniques. Like there are in everything in life. There are techniques, things that you can do to make the people who are watching or listening, and they're the people it's all about, appreciate the fact that not only are you entertaining them, but you know what you're doing. And audiences get nervous if they think that the person who's trying to entertain them doesn't know quite what they're doing. I was introduced once, because then, after doing about 4 weeks of this at the Cash Bingo, they put you in the Butlins Red Coat Show, which is in the huge theatre, and you walk out onto stage, and you're standing there, and you've got to do 8 minutes. And, you know, that is pretty hairy, because you can't get off after 6 minutes, because they're rigging the set for the next act. Okay, so you get... First of all, they said to me, you've got to do jokes about racial minorities. Sorry about that, but you just have to do jokes about racial minorities. It's what they want. It's what they expect. And so, sure enough, I would go in and I would say, black guy goes into the pub, right? He's got a monkey on his shoulder. The barman says to him, have you taught him any tricks yet? And the monkey goes, no, I've only had him 3 weeks. It goes down a storm.
What era was this?
This was 1974, something like that. Goes down an absolute storm.
You'd have got away with it back then.
Absolute storm. You could throw in the occasional joke that was not about a racial minority, as long as it was genuinely funny, like cowboy rides into town and he's wearing a complete suit made out of brown paper and they hanged him for rustling. And if you get that one in the right spot, because you know that it's the kind of quick one that's going to work just there, because you don't know what jokes you're going to tell. You're halfway through a joke and you've forgotten you're telling it because you're on to which one should I tell after this one and why. So if you tell a racist joke and it goes down really well, you tell another racist joke. If you tell a homophobic joke, it goes down really well, tell another homophobic joke. I only told 2 of them because actually making fun of gay people hadn't quite arrived. It was mainly Irishmen. Irishman stuck at the top of a building site. They're all going down in the lift. There's no room for him. So he jumps and he's flapping his wings like, but he hits the ground, bang, like that, cloud of dust. And they all run over and they say, Paddy, what was that all about? And he said, well, the foreman told me that during the war he used to fly in Wellingtons. It goes down a storm. Like, you know.
I like that.
There you are, you see, I knew we'd get you in the end. All right? Now I've got you now. I've got you. You're laughing, all right? So the audience are laughing, so now you go for the second laugh, the secondary laugh, all right? And the best way to get a secondary laugh is to just look at them as if they're racist bastards. And then they laugh again.
Because they're nervous,
They laugh again, and you get the secondary laugh. So you get that joke, and then you just stand there, deadpan, looking at them. As if to say, I can't believe you laughed at that, you're such naughty people. And then they go again, all right? Get your first laugh before you've said anything. So as you're introduced, you walk out across the stage towards your microphone on a stand, and you trip over a nail that isn't there. But it's funny if you point to the nail. We'll get to that. That's Stephen Freestone, thank you for that. He's sending me gay jokes.
Right.
Excellent. Okay, so you get your first laugh, you run out, all cocky and brash, big smile on your face, and you do that trip where you catch your foot with the other foot. It's only funny if you point at the nail that isn't there, because you're making an excuse for your own clumsiness. Then that's funny. It's quite sophisticated. Then you get to the microphone, and you can't get the microphone off the stand, and then you pull it, and then bang, it hits you in the forehead. Believe it or not, it works a treat every single time.
Little kids, maybe. That doesn't...
No, sir. But, no. Adults, try it.
Well, pulling a mic out and hitting it on your head, that's
it works
like the
every
oldest
time.
trick in the book.
It works every time. It works every time if you do it well. Because, as Rowan Atkinson said, there is no such thing as a funny joke. There is only the funny performance of a joke. So hitting yourself on the head is not funny. It's your reaction. Like I said about tripping up over a nail that isn't on the stage. It's that reaction that's funny. And hitting yourself on the head with the microphone, you have to gauge how that particular performance of it worked, and then it's your reaction to what you've just done. And with a sophisticated audience, you can go, with your face, I knew you wouldn't fall for that one, and then they'll laugh. Okay? With a not-so-sophisticated audience, you can do it, and then you can go cross-eyed. And again, that works. But you've always got to be feeling it, because every audience is slightly different, and nobody quite knows why. Then you tell your first joke, which should be a very quick one, the best one-liner you've got, to show the audience that besides being visual, you can also be verbal. And then you follow that up with another one, and then another one, and once you've got them laughing, they've laughed 3 times at 3 good jokes, then you just stand there, put one hand in your pocket, because you're relaxed, and now they're relaxing, because they know that you're going to make them laugh. And they won't laugh unless they're relaxed. They get very nervous. Unless you're Woody Allen or somebody far, far better than me or most people, all right, you must get your first laugh quite early. Then you tell a longer joke, which shows that you can do accents and shows that you can do ad-lib comedy, because you might be halfway through a long joke and you'll suddenly think, I know, I'll just do a silly walk here. So you go, and the bloke walked into the foreman's office And he walked in like this. And it's just a funny walk. Because you feel as though it's going that way, all right? And when you finish, you always say, I must just tell you this before I go. And the reason for that is because you're going to get a laugh with your last joke, but then the audience will applaud and laugh at the same time. And the stage manager, when he hears an act getting a big wall of applause and a big wall of laughter as the guy goes off and does the bow just at the wings, he thinks, that guy's good. Because the stage manager doesn't watch you or listen to you because he's too busy setting up the stage for the next act. So when you hear all of that goes into it, which I was taught by the other comedians who worked there, who were Bob Monkhouse, Tommy Cooper, a guy called Roy Castle, who's no longer with us, who was very good, Jim Davidson, a guy called Tommy Trinder, who was an absolute legend, and they all pass on these little tips and things like that. And I think I could walk out now and do 45 minutes. It wouldn't be very good, but I could do it, and it would be technically correct, and as long as the audience were kind of with me, it would work. And stand-up comedy is the ultimate thing in show business.
Definitely.
The ultimate thing in show business. Magicians will get a round of applause, singers will get a round of applause. People do that, or automatically. But you can't laugh unless it's funny, can you? And I loved it. But I didn't like telling jokes about... And I've used the N-word on stage. I didn't like doing that.
Get Play Radio at your fingertips by downloading our exclusive toolbar. Get the latest updates from Play Radio UK, check out the webcams, or find out your local weather. It's even got its very own search engine. Download the toolbar now by clicking on the banner at playradiouk.com.
Are everyday items stretching your family income to the limits at the moment? Me too. Well, I found this amazing website, comparison-plus.co.uk. It's amazing. You can compare the prices of thousands of products from all the big retailers. And what's more, it's a totally free service. You don't have to become a member to use Comparison Plus. But if you do register with comparison-plus.co.uk, you get cashback rewards, giving you even bigger savings. Don't pay over the odds. Click comparison-plus.co.uk and start saving now.
Want to see Britain's best bums? Mike Tyson, Harry Enfield, Porno Likes, Lindsay Strutt, Tijuana Madness, Paul Kay and Danielle Lloyd naked. For the fittest women, the biggest celebs and the loudest laughs, get loaded. New issue on sale now.
Broadcasting live to the UK. News, information, entertainment, and the best music from the past 40 years. This is Play 2 UK. Tommy Boyd. Call 01243 55 60 60. Email studio@playradiouk.com. Skype play.radio.uk. Now, live from the south coast of England, The Tommy Boyd Show, only on Play 2 UK.
Good evening if you're listening live. Good day if you're podcasting or around the world. This evening we're talking Iraq. It begins to look as though Blair and Bush may have got it right. We're talking comedy. We're talking how to manage your fridge. We're talking about the different languages that men and women speak. And we're also talking about wind and wind turbines and wind farming. And joining us with his wisdom is Gary Greiser from the Baumba Wind Farm Action Group. Gary?
Yes, Baumba.
Baumba.
But we won't argue over that.
No.
Yep.
Now, your organisation say that you are committed to protecting the rural countryside, so presumably, as far as these wind turbines go, from you guys, it's a bit of a no.
Well, I think there are two questions. One is, should we have wind turbines at all? And if the answer to that is yes, where should we put them? We're quite happy that although wind-produced electricity can only ever be an additional source, it can never, ever replace a conventional power station, simply because you cannot depend on the wind. But they can contribute, and our argument is simply put them where they will be the most efficient, and that is out at sea.
Okay. Are there any particular wind turbines that you've got a beef about?
Oh, sorry, say again.
Are there any particular wind turbines that you guys have got a beef about?
Well, I mean, our particular problem. Obviously, yes, we are fighting for our own patch, a particularly beautiful piece of classic Lincolnshire countryside at the foot of the Wolds with a view over to Lincoln Cathedral. Yes, we're very concerned about that. But as I say, the irony is that turbines placed in a low-lying inland environment like this are very inefficient. And because the main reason for having them is to try and reduce carbon dioxide emissions, the simple manufacture and siting of them is creating CO2. So the least we can do is site them where they will be, as I say, most efficient.
I don't quite get that bit, forgive me. By siting them close to you, they're creating more CO2.
What I'm saying is that siting them anywhere, each turbine, put it this way, each turbine needs a foundation consisting of 1,000 tonnes of concrete. Cement manufacture is one of the biggest carbon dioxide producers. But in addition to that, each one sited on agricultural land needs an access road. It needs a crane pad for the massive cranes needed to erect them. There's an enormous amount of construction and vehicle movements. The payback time, although the wind industry say 6 months to a year, it is actually in reality closer to 2 years. Now, siting them out at sea not only creates less carbon dioxide because you don't need access roads, most of them are secured, as it were, through piling and not huge amounts of concrete. But offshore, because the wind is so much more consistent and stronger, they can produce over their lifespan, which is also longer out at sea, they can produce up to 7 times more electricity. So our argument is this: if the whole reason is to try and save the environment, to reduce carbon dioxide, put them where they're going to do the most good.
Well, that's part of the crusade, isn't it? The other part is, to increase our self-sustaining source of energy, because we hope that one day we'll be free of needing other people's oil, for example. So yeah, that's another part of it. It's not just about reducing our carbon footprint. The thing is, Gary, the bullet you've got to bite is that I think most people listening will think, yeah, there's something in what he says there, definitely. But the big thing, as far as anybody's concerned, if they find out that these turbines, which are pretty big, are going to be sited anywhere near where they live, then it's just a case of put them somewhere else. We, for some reason, don't want to look at them. They're not that ugly, really, are they, Gary?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Some people don't think they're ugly. And if it was purely a case of their visual impact, maybe it would be a different argument. But, of course, what we are most terrified about, being only 700 metres away from the nearest two, of course, is the noise and health issues. There is well-documented evidence about the two types of noise. There is the audible aerodynamic noise, which is literally the blades cutting through the air. But there is also a low-frequency noise, which is known as amplitude modulation, which cannot be heard. It's not a sound as such, but it's a vibration which is picked up by the human body. Now, not everybody is sensitive to it, but there are very well-documented cases, and it produces the same physical effects, headache, nausea, sleeplessness, and so on, as a condition known as vibroacoustic disease. But even
so when you live in a village, the thing when you live in a village, Gary, you get very protective about your village, don't you? People who live in great conurbations would find it very difficult to come alongside your argument, because if you live in a conurbation, you're constantly having intrusion from noise and vibration, and often it's noise and vibration which is caused by something that isn't helping to provide you with your energy. It's caused by some bloody little kid on a motorbike, or
listen, absolutely. If you live near to industry and so on, there will be noise. But there are 2 points leading on from that. One is that, yes, we are very fortunate. We live in an area where there is virtually no noise other than birdsong. So it will impact far more on us because we have very little other background noise to mask the wind turbine noise. The other thing is that factories and schools and roads and whatever else will get quieter at night. Wind turbine noise, actually, due to the change in atmospheric conditions, gets louder at night.
Yeah.
And this is one of the main problems.
You haven't you haven't lived in London, Gary, if you're going to tell me that
I was born in London.
Yeah, well, a long time ago it did go quiet in London at night. I'm here to tell you it does not go quiet in any part of London.
Yeah, well,
24
listen,
hours
I'd be more than happy for you
and
to
that
have these turbines in London.
I'm not in London, and I've had turbines. I've owned turbines. I've powered my house.
Yes, completely different.
With
completely different.
You're not interested in finding out, are you?
I am. But
no, you're not.
No,
you're not. You don't know anything about my bloody turbines, and you're telling me it's bollocks. Gary, that's a disgrace. Where's your curiosity? Where's your interest in new information?
You're a shock jock sort of thing.
Where's your interest in new information? As soon as I told you that I had a personal insight into this technology, you said it's completely different. You didn't want to hear about it.
No,
you didn't. You did. Yes, you did. You didn't want to hear about it.
That the technology
you kicked it into touch straight away. It's completely different. That's what you said. It's completely different. That is so disappointing. That suggests to me that you have put your fingers in your ears as far as this issue goes, and you're just going la 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 la. You don't want these things in your backyard. You just don't want these things in your backyard. And all this stuff you were coming out with about the carbon footprint being an awful lot less if we float them on barges off the coast. All that kind of cobblers that you've cobbled together to try and make it into some kind of an intellectual argument is, in fact, that is just fish bones, because all you are bothered about is that you don't want them in your backyard. And anybody who might have anything constructive to say about wind turbines, that's completely different. That is so disappointing. You were going along so nicely. We were having a really nice conversation. And then there you are, as soon as I say I've owned turbines, I've powered my house with turbines, Gary says, that's completely different. I don't want to know about it. How do you know it's completely different?
Have you finished your little tantrum?
How do you know it's completely different?
Bring your blood pressure back down.
How do you know it's completely different?
Right, it's completely different.
What you mean is it's inconvenient?
No, it's completely different because domestic wind turbines are far more efficient because you can use those to charge batteries.
You don't know what domestic turbines I used, and you haven't asked, because you don't give a shoot, do you?
Well, I do, because we...
No, you're not interested. You're not remotely interested.
Well, if you won't let me finish, you won't find out.
It was me that you didn't let finish.
But we looked into this
you don't know what I know, and you're not interested.
No, I don't know what you know.
And you're not interested.
Well, tell me.
Well, we finally got there. Would you like to find out what it's like to have a turbine in your garden?
Go on.
You don't mean that. You don't give a toss, do you? You don't actually give a toss, mate, do you? Because it might be inconvenient to your rather flimsily constructed argument.
A calm, rational, intellectual discussion.
You had that until it turned out that you have a closed mind on the subject.
Oh, I don't have a closed mind at all.
Of course you did. That's completely different, you said. Which people, when people say that, they mean, I don't want to know.
No, it means that energy produced on the national grid cannot be stored.
You don't know what my experience is, and you don't know whether it was of value or not to your position. But because there was a danger that it might not be, you decided you didn't want to know. I don't want to know what this guy might know. I have no interest in his experience whatsoever, even though it is an experience which is entirely part of your whole doctrine, the Baumba Wind Farm Action Group. I had 2 turbines in my garden which provided all the power for my house. Are you remotely interested in that?
Yes.
Yes? You're not, are you?
Well, I mean, what
do you want to know? Do you want to know about the amount of power?
If you think
do you want to know about
when I say yes, then
do you want to know? Why don't you can go back to your wind farm action group and you can tell them that last night you spoke to a bloke who had some turbines in his garden. Wouldn't you like to know what you could tell them? Wouldn't you like to know how much noise they made and how much power they provided? Wouldn't you like to know whether it was a valid exercise by me or not? Do you know anybody else who's had wind turbines in their own garden?
Yes.
Go on, I'm listening, I'm interested. Because I am interested. Go on. Who?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, as I was saying, in
How
a
big were they?
domestic situation, they can do a lot more good.
How big were they?
The electricity produced...
Barry, I don't want a lecture. I want to know about these turbines that this bloke you know had in his garden. How big were they?
They were 15 metres.
15 metres tall. And how big were the blades?
They were about 2 metres in diameter.
In diameter. OK, a lot smaller than mine. But that's not the point. The point is, how did he collect the energy from his turbines?
Well, he collected the energy. It went into a battery, or charged batteries.
In series?
Which could then be used through an inverter to provide power for his house.
And what proportion of his power needs were met by his turbine? Just the one?
That, I can't give you that figure. I don't know that exact figure.
And what was his experience
of... a reasonable contribution.
What was the experience of the noise made by these turbines? Or turbine, in his case?
I don't think he suffered any particular noise problems.
Right.
With a 2 metre diameter blade.
Now, I've learned something, you see, Gary, from talking to you like that. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
And good luck with your campaign.
Thank you.
And if you want to know, the wind turbines that I had in the garden were absolute crap.
Right. So this whole conversation has been something of a sham.
No, it's because you assumed that I was going to say that they were wonderful, and you're wrong. Shall I tell you how useless... would you like to know how useless... Would you? Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because you've got a bit of a closed mind, Gary, and you need to open up if you're going to try and persuade people that you've got a case. I'm here to tell you that the wind turbines that I had in my garden were large. They were twice the size of the one that this person that you know about or of, although you don't know much about his wind turbines. Shame on you. You should find out. The turbines that I had were twice as big, and I had 2 of them, and they were so unsuccessful at providing power for the house that if somebody was watching EastEnders in the front room and somebody upstairs tried to dry their hair with a hairdryer, the television went off. Right? That's the first point. The second point is, yes, they do make a noise, and they are eerie at night, the noise that they make. And I did find the noise discomforting at times, even though I knew exactly what it was. I was concerned about them because they looked precarious, and I was worried because I had small children. And sure enough, guess what my windmills did in the middle of one night when it was blowing a gale, Gary? They bloody blew down.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the argument doesn't really cross over. I mean, yes, they're not the answer. I said this before. They are not the solution. They can provide electricity. Domestic ones can do a bit more because the energy they produce can be stored. But on the commercial, industrial wind turbines, the power cannot be stored. And this is part of the problem.
What do you do for a living, Gary? I'm just curious.
I'm an engineer.
OK. OK. Nice. I could talk to you all night. But I've got to crack on. Thank you for your take on that and your wisdom.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
What?
You're a heartless bastard sometimes.
I am not. I don't like campaigners. When all they're really... It's like when people say... They drive around with stickers round here going, save our hospital. Save St Bartholomew's. What they mean is, close the other fucking one.
Yeah.
Let them drive 40 miles to our hospital. We'll only have to drive 2 miles.
And then when they all drive to our hospital, we complain that there's not enough doctors.
Cancer patients from Worthing shall drive to Chichester Hospital. That's what people in my neck of the woods are saying, and people in Worthing are saying exactly the opposite. People in Chichester should have to drive their cancer carcasses to our hospital. Save our hospital means close the other bloody one. Gary Greiser from the Baumba Wind Farm Action Group. If you want to know more, you can go to, I think their website is www.bwag, the Baumba Wind Farm Action Group, bwag.co.uk/. Go there and make some mischief. It's 9:30. Matt is standing by with the news.
Play 2 UK headlines.
National tests for 14-year-olds in England are being scrapped. A US-style school report card system's being introduced instead to give parents a snapshot of how their child's doing. America's buying a stake in its banks after copying Gordon Brown's idea. The $250 billion move is similar to action taken in the UK to help stem the global financial crisis. Inflation now stands at more than double the government's 2% target. The latest figures come in at 5.2%. And the mother of Rhys Jones has told a court how she cradled her son in her arms as he died. The schoolboy was shot on his way home in Liverpool last year.
Play 2 UK. Weather.
Cloudy and misty, but mild across much of England and Wales with occasional outbreaks of rain. Elsewhere, largely dry with clear spells and some fog patches. Rain over northwest Scotland later. Tomorrow, there'll be occasional light rain across southern England and Wales. Some fine spells elsewhere with scattered showers following.
Any wind?
You're up to date on Play 2 UK. Play Radio UK have teamed up with Virgin Wines to offer you the chance to get £20 off a fine selection of wines and champagnes. For more details, click on the banner or go to playradiouk.com/Virgin Wines.
Want to see Britain's best bums? Mike Tyson, Harry Enfield, Porno Likes, Lindsay Strutt, Tijuana Madness, Paul Kay and Danielle Lloyd Naked. For the fittest women, the biggest celebs and the loudest laughs, get loaded. New issue on sale now.
If you want to increase your profits, go the extra mile for your customers, and bring loyalty to your business, then you need Play in Store. In-house or online, Play in Store is your personal, made-to-measure music and marketing tool. As part of the Play Radio Network, we are experts at creating the perfect radio station for your customers, in turn delivering an increase in sales, staff morale and brand awareness. Go to playinstore.co.uk.
Tommy Boyd on Play 2 UK, the original cunning linguist.
Oh, it's going along very nicely tonight. And hey, look, Fat Steve is Skyping in from Atlanta. Hey, Fat.
Hello.
Hello.
So, hardly know what to say. You've had so many different discussions going on today.
Well, go where you like.
I can't really say I was following the last guy. But,
the wind guy.
Yeah, I just really don't know what's going on with wind farms in the south of England.
Well, they're sticking up these big turbines, which they look very 21st century. They're white and they've got kind of like streamlined aircraft propeller blades, 3 of them, and the wind turns them round, and people get power from that. Then, if the guy said beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I think they're a lot more attractive than those electricity pylons that we have networking the country. Do you have those in the States, electricity pylons?
Yes. I've seen the wind things. I don't know if I've seen the England ones or I've seen them on the Dutch side. I'm thinking I know I've seen them as we fly into Schiphol on the coast. So it must have been the Dutch coast.
They're doing a job. We need all the energy we can get that doesn't come from oil. For 2 reasons. One, because we don't produce enough oil. You guys don't produce enough of your own oil. And 2, because it's dirty.
Yeah.
But we have a phrase in England I'll tell you about called NIMBY. It stands for not in my backyard. Do you have that phrase?
Aha.
Okay.
Not the phrase, but the attitude, certainly.
Yeah. Something's a good idea, but I don't want one of them where I have to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say about this whole thing about how beautiful they, whether or not they're beautiful, and whether the noise is offensive. Where I live, my garden backs onto National Trust land, beautiful countryside, but there are pylons going right across the middle of it. Now, I quite often go out there and enjoy the countryside, but I don't honestly notice the pylons anymore. I really, really don't. And I've taken some really nice pictures, of the countryside looking lovely. And it's not until I get the photograph that I realise there's a pylon in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And a few years back, there was lots of fuss made about a bypass that was built through the countryside. And I don't hear the noise. Lots of people complain about the noise, but I don't hear it. No. Do you not think, we just grow accustomed to the noise and the...
Yeah. We should do. It's a changing world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean... you grow accustomed to things. That doesn't necessarily mean they're always good.
No. True, but we have a lot of choice about what we find irritating and what we don't find irritating. An alcoholic is a drunk who you find irritating, for example. And I've got over finding pylons irritating because they're functional.
Yeah.
And what I've done is I've persuaded myself that if something is functional, it has a certain beauty, provided it is functional and it's doing a job.
Well, we want that electricity, so therefore they have to be there.
Yeah. Have you, Steve, ever bought anything just because it was beautiful, and what was it, and did it cost much, and is it still beautiful?
Well... I mean, I feel like I bought my car sort of hastily based on how it looks and sort of how it was engineered, and not thinking about, how much gas it takes and that you have to put the highest grade of gas in it, and just...
Well, what sort of wheels are we talking about here?
One of those Porsche Cayennes.
Okay.
It's 4x4.
Okay. Yeah, because if you're walking back to your car, you've gone to pay for your gas at the station, and you're walking back to your car and it looks good, you get a nice feeling from that.
Yeah. Although, a year and a half down the road, it's like you start to see more and more, the $100 that goes in the tank every time.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, now I've known what it's like to have a nice car, and, I can deal with having a bicycle.
We're coming over to the possibility that the Allied intervention in Iraq may end up being a victory for the Allies and for the people of Iraq, and that we may at some point very soon have to say that though there were no weapons of mass destruction, it seems, what George W. and Tony B. did was a good thing. I guess. I mean, I don't know, just because, we've polished it up and we've made it better than it was after we invaded, doesn't mean that everything they did was good over there, and that it was necessarily the right time to go in, and that the thousands of servicemen who lost their lives and the hundreds of thousands of Iraqis who lost their lives, I mean, still doesn't necessarily make it a good thing just because the situation on the ground has improved. It's never going to be a perfect solution, is it? But when I look at Iraq now, when I hear how the levels of violence in Iraq have been reducing, geometrically over just the last few weeks and couple of months, and how the Iraqi economy is thriving, and the people of Iraq now have access to various freedoms that they never even dreamed of, I'm getting to the point of thinking that it was quite a noble crusade. And since I was ambiguous at the time, I wasn't one of the out-and-out peaceniks who dominated the discussion in the United Kingdom, and I suspect were quite vociferous in the United States. I was a little bit more undecided, but now I'm beginning to feel as though the Allies should say what we did. On the whole, of course there were regrettable issues, but on the whole, which is all you can do, on the whole, was the right thing. And well done us.
But, if you're going to look on the whole, then you sort of have to look at Afghanistan, too, and the fact that the Iraq effort has taken troops away from the Afghanistan effort, and things are getting worse in Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, obviously, is more intractable. But it still seems to me, what we hear from the British troops, the leaders of the British troops, is that it's the job that they want to do. Don't know how long that's going to take and at what cost, but they're saying it's the job they want to do. Stay with us, Steve. We're going to bring Christopher into the conversation. Good day, Christopher.
Hello, Tommy.
Hi.
Yeah.
Have you gotten laid yet?
Sorry? Have I gotten laid yet? No, not quite.
Steve heard us talking to Christopher on a previous occasion about the fact that he's still a virgin. Thanks, Steve. Nice one.
Thank you, Steve.
I thought we might have had an announcement.
Yeah. Don't worry, you'll be the first to know.
Well, I hope not. I hope it's at least the second. That's a disturbing image in the afternoon in Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't want to wake up to that.
No. What brought you to the phone, Christopher? It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, the whole managing fridges thing. What does it mean if your fridge is too cold?
It's a freezer.
You'd have thought so. I mean, every slice of bread that I pull out of the fridge here has got ice on it.
Yeah.
And it's at its lowest temperature setting.
What the
hell's that all about?
Yeah, why don't they have thermometers in fridges? I bet they do in the States, Steve. You've got a thermometer built into your fridge, right?
Well, I would assume there's like an interior thermometer that keeps it at a certain level. There's nothing that you can actually read, but there's a thermostat.
I wasn't listening to what you were saying because Matt was talking to me off air.
The thing is,
I mean, you were asking me a question about thermometers in refrigerators.
Don't write notes, so we don't air.
Well, there's no point telling me that. I mean, you fixed the knobs here, and you needed to tell me why. I assumed it was because there was a technical problem.
You creep the volume on everything back up a little bit.
Yeah, well, fine. Well, that's because I can't hear people.
Turn your headphones up, then.
Well, I'm trying to balance the whole thing here. Steve, you can imagine what it's like. You're technical. I have to do all the thinking, all the talking, and all the jockeying here. Where were we? We're talking about fridges because Chris wanted to.
The thing is, we've got to remember that Chris is actually in student accommodation. So...
Slumming it, I believe, are the words that Tommy uses.
Yes, slumming it, quite. So I can't imagine that your fridge is in perfect working order. But you could try putting your bread at the top of the fridge. That might make a bit of a difference.
It is at the top of the fridge.
Then you've got real problems.
Bread in the fridge?
Who puts bread in a fridge?
What on earth?
Because it's a student. It lasts longer in the fridge.
But I last a long...
You might as well freeze it if you're going to have to toast it anyway.
Put it in a plastic bag and hang it out your window.
I mean, it'll last longer if you freeze it.
That's a cheap way of fixing the problem.
Yeah,
You're a student.
Yeah, but then you get vermin, so that idea is
not if he's on
put
the
to one
third floor.
side.
Well, not only that, but...
You don't know anything about vermin, do you?
Heat up.
Okay, let's get back on track here. It's stupid that fridges don't come with thermometers. It's stupid that cookers don't come with thermometers. Stupid.
But what good would it do to have a thermometer when he's got it on the lowest setting anyway? He knows it's too cold.
Well, Churchill used to always have his bath drawn at 86 degrees Fahrenheit. And, you know, he's a man who had some successes in life. And I have no difficulty with that kind of precision. I would buy a coffee mug, if I could, that told me the temperature of the coffee in the mug. Now, how hard is that?
You wouldn't have thought
They probably have that somewhere.
But you eBay me one of those, anybody tonight, and I will personally buy you one. I bet there isn't one. But temperature is important, isn't it?
If there isn't, then you should go on that Dragon's Den.
You get that in the States?
Yeah. Well, we get it, your version on BBC America.
Do you get...
They have their own called America's Next Inventor or something?
It's a different show, but that same guy is on it.
Peter Jones.
Yeah.
What about Duncan?
No, he's just on the Dragon's Den. There's also a Canadian's Dragon's Den.
Oh, dear.
And there's a Dutch one, too.
Yeah, but you gotta accept, Steve, that across the board, notwithstanding the Chinese who invented gunpowder, the British and the Americans, between us, we've pretty much invented everything that the world depends on at the moment, didn't we? I mean, what are the Dutch invent?
Isn't the cell phone kind of Scandinavian?
You've fallen for that Nokia PR. No, the cell phone was invented by Hedy Lamarr, the film actress.
Not Hedley Lamarr from Blazing Saddles.
Hedley! Not Hedy! Go do that voodoo! He's just died, hasn't he, that guy?
Yeah, or, in the last year or so.
Go do that voodoo that you do so well. No, Hedy Lamarr invented the modulated frequency system on which cellular phones depend. So you could argue that it's largely not only an American invention, a Hollywood invention. And what else? The motor car? The Germans had a go at that, didn't they? But the Americans really refined it.
Jet plane?
Aviation, the jet.
Jet plane.
Hovercraft. You don't see too many hovercraft. Do you have any hovercraft in America, Steve?
No. Well,
no, I'm not surprised.
Personally, no.
No,
but,
they're ridiculous.
No, they have a lot of hovercraft racing.
Yes. Okay, but it's a British invention anyway. What else? What have the Canadians ever invented? Let's go down on the Canadians. That's always a good sport.
Go down on the Canadians?
I don't mean sexually.
South Park?
That's not an invention, you twat.
I can't think of anything
and
else.
South Park isn't Canadian.
No, it's an urban myth.
Maple syrup?
Maple syrup.
Bounty.
Bounty?
Molson beer.
Sorry, Christopher, did you say the Bounty Bar?
No, I said Mounties.
Oh, Mounties. That's not an invention.
Yeah, that's the name of a porno film.
Have you got that one?
Yeah. Canadian porn.
So, yeah. So I think that programs like The Dragon's Den must be hilarious in Belgium.
In the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, the one thing they have is a really hot female dragon.
I was going to ask you, have you seen the British female dragon?
She's starting to look all right. It's weird.
Why does that work? Why does that work? I find myself looking at her.
Really?
Really?
Which one are you talking about? Because there's been two.
I don't know.
One
There's
with
the woman.
knockers.
There's the woman that
Or
owned Red
the
Letter Days
older
that went
one.
bust.
I don't know.
And then there's the other woman that
Do you
does a
mean
lot in the
Do you
entertainment.
mean
Grumpy
Deborah
one.
Meaden?
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
got,
Really?
One who looks
she's got
sort of
something.
like Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, she's got something, hasn't she, Steve?
Yeah, like big boobs.
No, there's more to it than that. There's something...
But a sort of like powerful, sort of voluptuous presence. And that's why I don't find Sarah Palin that attractive, because she doesn't have that voluptuousness.
No, but I think there are times when men would quite like not to have to be in control of every situation because it's tiresome. And there's an element of responsibility about it in a relationship. We do all the driving. We kind of make the last decisions about lots of things.
No, that's not true. Women just like to make men believe that they make the last decisions.
Well, sometimes we'd like a woman who makes us believe that they do.
Fine. Then communicate that.
Sorry about this, Christopher and Steve. She's referring to an earlier interview there. So where did we got to? We got to Dragon's Den, and we should go on it with a teacup that tells you the temperature of the coffee.
Yes.
Yes.
Or a coffee cup.
Yeah. Yeah, and whilst we're on the temperature of beverages, Steve, sad to report you still can't get a cold glass in any bar in Britain.
Uh-huh.
See, now that's the thing they do in Spain. They put the pint glasses in the fridge.
Correct. They do it right across America as well. You ask for a beer, and the first thing is a paper coaster, and then onto that paper coaster comes a frosted glass, and that is fantastic. Heaven.
Yeah. Although in Holland, they just give you like a tiny little beer where most of it is foam.
Yeah, well, that again is part of that beer drinking culture. A Belgian guy called Albert van Everbroek taught me how to drink Stella like that out of a small, tall glass. And he said, you got to sip it because you English, you just drink beer like you want to get drunk. And I said, yeah. He said, but this is 4.8%, and it's good beer. You should savour it. You should sip it. You should run it round your mouth and you should lick the foam off your lip, and it's all part of it. And it worked. Except when you drink it out of a tin, which is just because you want to get pissed.
Yeah, those Belgian Abbeys brew some excellent beer.
You see, I don't like drinking beer out of a tin. I can drink it out of a bottle. In fact, I prefer to drink it out of a bottle than a glass, but I don't like drinking it out of a tin.
I prefer to drink it out of a tin than a bottle.
Really?
Yeah, don't know why.
Well, let's go round the room. Michael, tin or a bottle?
Bottle.
Bottle. Steve, tin or
A bottle or a frosted glass.
Frosted glass.
Frosted glass would be the ultimate.
Chris?
Beer tastes like shit.
On that note, thank you. Good talking to you, Chris, and thank you for your time and your wisdom, Chris and
the
Steve.
students get beer that's just as good over in the UK as they do here in America.
Exactly. Student bars, man.
Yes.
Okay, take it easy, you guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Go to playradiouk.com now and play blackjack for real money and get a $200 bonus when you sign up. Just click on the 888.com banner on our website now at playradiouk.com.
My dad knows how to keep my mum sweet. He logged on to Play Radio UK and treated her to some amazing Swarovski jewellery from the Scala Jewellery. My mum's so lucky because the Scala Jewellery designed all their jewellery in the UK and then it's handmade in Italy with Swarovski stones. They design jewellery for celebrities and royalty too. It's probably the best costume jewellery in the world. So come on all you dads, go to playradiouk.com and click on the Scala Jewellery today.
Play Gold UK, on air now. We gotta get out of this place. Play Gold UK.
You ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't go back. Bringing back the good times.
Viva Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas.
Play Gold UK.
Wouldn't it be nice to get on with me neighbours?
Play Gold UK, part of the playradiouk.com network. Tommy Boyd on Play 2 UK, a super song of sanctity in a weird and wacky world.
On the emails, we were talking earlier about telling jokes. Because there's quite an art, obviously, to being a stand-up comedian, and believe it or not, Jim Davidson, he's actually a brilliant stand-up comedian. Yes. But, and so was Bernard Manning, even though you probably might not entirely enjoy what they did. This has come in from Stephen Freestone. Did you hear about the gay cowboy who shot up the sheriff? Sorry about that. This is Chris in Birmingham.
You're turning up, aren't you?
You're on.
Hello?
Are you paying attention?
No, I'm not. I'm listening to the adverts.
You what?
I have been listening to the adverts. I don't know whether I am... What we want to do? We want to talk about Fat Steve.
You can talk about Fat Steve.
We hate him.
Why's that then?
Because he's a liberal douchebag.
What is a douchebag?
Exactly. I don't know, but it's a bag full of rouge.
A bag full of rouge.
Hang on.
Douche.
Phil thinks he's easily... What?
Easily come by legalistic dogmatism.
Legalistic dogmatist, he thinks. Don't that fucking media play there, will you? I'll have a conversation with Phil.
What is a douchebag?
Hang on a second, promise you.
It's a phrase that you often hear.
It's a phrase you often hear, Phil.
Related to porn.
Yes.
But
it's like, well, sometimes you hear a person referred to as a toe rag.
A toe rag?
What is that?
A rag spot.
What is a toe rag?
I hear a lot of people refer to it. Well, that's the only people I know. Toe rags and rag spots, funny enough.
Toe rags and douchebags.
Douchebags are slightly classier because they have what you call a... they are American.
If they did a version of The Office, only they set it in a slum
Never
factory,
seen it.
then they could use that as the theme tune, couldn't
I've
they?
missed out on a lot of stuff I have.
Toe rags and douchebags.
Comedy.
As opposed to handbags and glamours. I'm with you now.
It's worth staying with me most of the time. I'm better than him.
Not me. I'm not here to say that.
I'll tell you what. Do you know what a douchebag is? Fat Steve has Skyped.
£2, $2, a douchebag.
It's like
it's like wrapped up like a deucer in the moon.
It's like an enema. It's like an enema bag.
It's like an enema, yes.
Bag.
Douchebag.
But for use in the female reproductory system.
I can imagine, you know, there's a lot of these people. What did you want to say, Phil?
No, I think that's right, because women, sometimes when they wash themselves all over, that's
B-days.
douching.
I have a B-day. There's no reason for it.
Well, douche is a shower, isn't it?
I have a B-day.
Chris, shut up! Just for 3 seconds.
Okay.
Just shut the fuck up for 3 seconds whilst I just get something out of Fiona. What is a douche, then?
A douche is a shower, isn't it?
It's not. A douche is when a woman washes herself intimately. That's douching.
Really?
I'm convinced it is, because
But the word douche is shower in French,
Is
isn't
it? Well, okay. Sorry, Chris, you're back with us now on full volume.
No, I'm all right. I agree with Fiona broadly. I'm moving that way. I am broadly agreeing with you, but don't you find that it's not really what you call an Anglo-Saxon word? We didn't used to douche before maybe 1967.
It's hard to imagine how it penetrated into popular verbal culture in the United States, because you can't imagine that the douchebag... Maybe we're back to prostitution.
Doesn't work on radio, Phil.
What? What's he doing? Remote control?
No, you're grabbing the corner of his face.
Yeah?
And it's like wobbly.
Yeah, I know. That one...
Yeah, you got it, chump. But it doesn't work, does it? We're talking about douchebags and national...
I'll tell you what...
You know, last night you were saying we should charge the Americans...
Yes.
...for using our...
language. Everybody should pay.
For borrowing from the library of our...
Maybe we should charge Brummies as well.
Fuck Radio 4. This is the internet. Fuck Radio 4,
It's a little bit like Radio 4.
We don't care. We're all right.
And here
I
is
tell
the
you what,
shipping
there's
forecast.
psychiatrists there with chubby boys. You want to sit in there?
Gadda.
You wouldn't be
Force
terrible, would you, chum?
From
if
the
we
east.
sat in the psychiatrist's chair.
Bungalow. Force
What do you
3.
reckon? Psychiatrists are sociopaths.
From the
Oh,
east.
yeah. Are you there, or do you want to move on?
Oh, we better move on. Thank you, Chris.
I thought that a douchebag was pretty much what Fat Steve said, but from a slightly different angle, is that when women porn stars are about to perform a scene that involves anal sex, is they go for what's called a douche, which is a cleaning of the rectum so that nothing gets out on camera, obviously. So I thought a douchebag was basically a bag of shit.
Oh, I don't think it's that. I don't know for certain. Toulouse-Lautrec, who created a number of paintings during his time on absinthe in the brothels in Paris in the late 1890s. I think there's a picture, a famous portrait that he did of one of the ladies of the night douching, I think. And because her fingers are painted in a very sort of sensitive and gentle way, you know, the fingers are quite intricate, and what she's doing is obviously something that she's doing very carefully, with care and affection. You know, it's quite a touching... What? Why are you laughing? My art teacher at school, Mr. Henry McGee, said that I should be an art critic. He said because I had sufficient sensitivity.
Yeah,
and
no, I think
articulacy.
that was a very sensitive way of putting your point across.
So this from Tamsin on the business of how to manage your fridge. This evening, it's a packed programme. We're discussing whether it looks as though Tony Blair and George W. Bush got it right in Iraq, and whether an awful lot of people are going to have to change their mind and say they're sorry. And I think that's on the cards, and I love seeing people being forced to change their mind. Fantastic. Fridge management, a tricky business. What to put, where. And you know, once you get in the habit of putting the tomatoes there, they always go there.
Mm-hmm.
They never go there just to see if it works. Okay? We, for example, keep the fridge in the bottom bit of the door, which means bending down every time you want it.
Keep the fridge there.
Sorry, keep the milk.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Keep the milk in the bottom part of the door, where there is a big receptacle for the milk. But there is a receptacle up higher which would take the milk, and I'm always trying to get people in my family to change this lifelong habit and put the milk up where you can reach it. But they won't, because the milk always goes in the bottom of the fridge door. That's just obduracy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stubbornness.
It's like people that don't take the milk from the fridge in the correct order.
I know they start a bottle when there's still one that's half full.
Yes.
Yes.
And they take a new one out when there's still an old one that needs to be drunk first.
Right, now, and who do we suspect of swigging from the bottle in order to save on a glass? We all do it, don't we?
I can't stand it.
But you do it, don't you?
No.
Not when anyone's looking.
I can't share drinks and stuff with people, so I hope that people don't do the same to me.
Do you still wipe the top of a beer can if you've lent it to somebody?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you know one of the most erotic things I've ever seen? And it was called, in a film called My Favourite Laundrette, which was the first big cinema break for Daniel Day-Lewis. And he played a skinhead who was terrorising this Indian-owned and run laundrette in the south of London. And there was a tension between him, a 20-year-old skinhead, and the 20-year-old Indian son of the guy who owned the laundrette, which was palpable. And you knew that they were going to have a fight eventually. And so eventually, right towards the end of the film, they cut to this confrontation between the two of them in the laundrette. It's the middle of the night, but it's all lit up. And they're both sitting side by side on one of the washing machines, drinking from a bottle of champagne. And Daniel Day-Lewis pours champagne into his mouth and transfers it into the mouth during a long kiss of the Indian boy who turns out to be his secret lover. And it was beautiful. It was such an underlining of the intimacy that they felt that they could between the two of them, that they felt that they could transfer champagne from one's mouth to the other. I haven't done it myself with anybody.
You?
Oh, you have?
Well, probably a long time ago, yeah.
But you have?
Yeah.